Hi, friends. Okay, I was up in the night, not because I couldn't sleep, but because I was so excited by my new offering, uh, my playlist that I put together, and the journal that I uploaded to go with it. Now, there was one piece missing, and that was Tim's offering. My mystical friend's vision of the Occupy movement, uh, seen from a different perspective than I guarantee you almost anyone out there would see it from. And I want very much to share that. So, with his permission, I'm going to record his words and upload this. And it forms a part of my previous upload, at least in my vision of things. Okay. Tim's vision of Occupy Wall Street and the Occupy movement. These are his words. I've been writing things in my head again. I think in language, always have. It churns as a soup of sentences and spoken premises, and I argue with myself. When I was a child, I imagined a three-way argument in my head between Trudeau, Broadbent, and Clark. I played all three parts, naturally. When I was done, I used the one I thought I won with. I imagine viewpoints and summon them to me and place myself into those eyes to fight the issues out, and it's how I write and why it's easier for me most of the time. I can and do, and sometimes try to play all parts in real conversations, as if a grumpy old man telling you why moving that chess piece sucks as a choice and why all the time. It's a form of autonomy. We now have in our society the emergence of the tribalist. They are camping out, not just in Toronto and Vancouver, but continent-wide. The media is struggling to handle the development. They think in a set flowchart way, and generally speaking, them ignoring something has almost always equaled it being erased from the conscious mind of the population. It didn't work this time. That is quite an exception to the very ironclad rule of the 99.9999%. I know that if they, the tribalists, do, excuse me, I know that they, the tribalists, do not yet know who they are as of yet. They sit banging out old Celtic, Saxon, Anglo, Scandinavian beats that sound exactly like the native Indian drums and singing, body piercings, tattoos, and body art, singing, dancing, and living in loosely affiliated tribes of tightly knit peoples, decency being the only rule. You, the tribalists, with your strangely simple, all-knowing, not an ounce of ability to explain why you are right but know it anyhow, have come back and are once more spontaneously on a worldwide basis living the way the new world will once more be. Tribal. There will be two worlds for a while, tribal and corporatist. You represent a split in humanity. Your thinking is strongly based off the mammalian brain. The community of the herd and the good of the whole runs through you on a simplistic level that the flowchart mentality of the trained corporatists is not going to be able to grasp in any way whatsoever. You grew up with all the technology. You know how it works. You think in emotional symbols and have a common energy flowing through you, which will in time tie you closer to the earth and its cycles. until your ability to move off quickly for no reason becomes warning of an earthquake. Like the animals, you will find meaning in it and begin to wonder about it and about your sharing of knowledge on a deep, instinctual level that could only take place in a horizontal, tribe-based, egalitarian consensus form of government. It's you people who will build grand altars and odd calendars and write messages down for others to figure out. And it will be you who knows the complexity of the last generation's lies. You are the tribal ancestors, children born again into this period, because the next period will belong to you. And the media know it. The media's job is to prolong the life of the world, which must now pass. But it will pass kicking and screaming in psychotic rages and fits of lies and justifications. So, knowing this also, sit, wait, and worry not. It's going to be a while, but not that much longer. You retain the use of your cerebral cortex, of course, but by basing its use through the mammalian brain, you make it much more of a tool than a master. The reason you have such a hard time communicating with the world around you as it exists now is that the verbal thinking skills they have chiseled away from people for generations meant nothing to you, because you were not using it in a way they could assault, as was done to most, if not all, of the previous generations. The way to dominate a thinking process is to superimpose a flowchart of presumptions over it. It does not work if you are looking at things for similarities in imagery and the meanings on emotional levels of those images. Knowing both what the message was on the magazine cover and who was sending it by image commonalities, by feeling. Where do you put the flowchart on a tribal person born again? The sons and daughters, spirits from ages ago, just picking up as they left off thousands of years ago? Now, I was born a slave, just like everyone else, but thank God we put a good face on it. Middle class, which put me in contact with a horse industry that hasn't changed in any real way in 600 years, and doing a job that has not changed in 5,000 years or more. None of these institutions can survive in a tribal society. At best, it can support small, self-sustaining villages of free-flowing peoples who drift freely and without consequence until they find the place and grouping of people they feel most at home with. An agrarian-based resource economy of needs, and simple ones at that. The cops are out of a job. The government has no place. The media is the camp sing-along, and the sword maker makes swords when he feels like it, and you know they are his because he sticks his initials on his work. So, I have traveled in this life, representations of social structure in full character, and then been absent for long periods of time. This is my nature. I have the old world, and older ones too. I can explain how it worked and works in great detail, from my own point of view, of course. But those things will no longer be relevant, except as a form of therapy for how they did it all to the generations before you. Therapy for how they did it all to the generations before you. And to you, most of your own life. You are as a new people, just seated. More will come as the very age ticks over. The thinking patterns of some, and then more, and then almost everyone will start to change. Those who do not or cannot will pass away with the world that was theirs. Not to weep for them is a mistake, but to do so before you're ready is an even bigger one. When this golden age comes to be, it will be with these beginnings of occupy this, that, and the other city as its seeded core, SEEDED. Wait, the people are coming. Another world will rise up beside you. It will be sudden. They will appear beside you, in many cases living in trees and other strange places. The magical beings that will become once more creatures you can interact with will be another tool for you to use and learn from. Not all of the magical beings will choose to interact with you. The cycle of man is about to reset. Things will not go as you expect them to. Your emergence is magic. You're back from a very long sleep. The beginning. Within 3 generations, the Eddas of goddess Freya will make more sense to you than the concept of employees ranked by means of wage rates. Currency exchange between nations will be hard to explain to a child who has never lived in a nation, nor knows anyone that ever did. Currency exchange will be as relevant as the coal chute is in charming 19th century homes. It will be as hard to explain as crowd scenes of England, where hundreds of men with black coats, bowler hats, and umbrellas walk to work, overseeing other men to do the work in order to ensure productivity. Mechanical time will be replaced. From the sundial to the digital watch and right back to the seasonal observances and weather, but with a firm grip on the technology that allows you to time an event to the microsecond, but with such different concepts on its use that neither world will be able to communicate about it in any way. Nature itself will place a barrier between the mechanical mindset of time, and no one will be able to grasp its meaning but those who participated in its age and time. You may very well be new beings. You are at the beginning, planted as seeds for a world. If so, you have arrived at one of the very best parts of the human play, the golden age of knowledge and tribal equality, complete with scientific knowledge and a working model of the universe, complete with measuring tools and an aptitude to build better by instinctive knowledge and the encouragement of the group for the benefit of the group. Love. I've seen the last of your age, the slaughters of tribal peoples because they could not be made slaves of as they were, the legal takeover of religious beliefs backed by mind control, boiling oil, and witch burning, black magic and advertising campaigns, the city-states of do it my way or else, the ever-increasing until it merged into a kingdom city-state that confiscated lands by the sword and then taxed the inhabitants a portion of their food, to income taxation promises of the government that it would be, of course, temporary and voluntary. And now I see the beginning of it again, born into the rubble of the old. I am pretty sure that once you get on this ride, you're here for the duration of it, that beings are moving through this in cycles, and we are at the last and the beginning, and it should prove very interesting. I do not wish to complete this circuit with you again. The universal cycle is here, according to some interpretations of the Mayan calendar. Just outside the pyramid, above the last one step at the top, is another level, interuniversal, INTER. There is more than one universe operating within this one, dimensions, if you like, vibrational frequency awareness, if you prefer. This is the bridge that holds the other side of what is on top of this pyramid. Once there, if you let go, you're out of the pyramid altogether, and the cycles of time for this world go with it. The universal cycle will begin again with man's cellular structure changed, his mammalian brain restored and amplified, and his cerebral cortex as an upgraded tool for the being within it, for the new crop of beings on a path through an experience. I suppose every being would make his or her deal, but my suspicion is in for the new and stay here for the whole damn ride, in reincarnations after reincarnations, with an increasingly lost sense of who you are each time, until the end of awakening comes once more, in a few tens of thousands of years or whatever it is. I wish to go back to walking between worlds and universes, worlds within worlds and realities upon realities, and keeping to my own world that operates knowingly in between them all. You see, it is they that are carrying the bag of tricks. All they have to do is look at what they have and who they are, and see things for what they are. They are a split in society, camping out worldwide, living in loosely affiliated familial tribal associations of sharing and caring, while demanding the old world comes to an end. The longer they deny what is around them, as if they were in a fight or needed attention from the corpse that was, the longer the entire battle can be prolonged. The old world is gasping and grabbing wild. Maybe they should come to it on their own, and I should not point it out. Maybe I should point it out, knowing that if they are not supposed to hear me, they won't. You see, I know who they are, but they do not know yet who they are themselves, and all they know of me is that I am not one of them. But then, I am not the old world or ethereal realms either. But I do visit. Ha! Maybe just thinking it loudly will help. Do I reach out or not? He says to me. It is up to them to figure out on their own. Is it up to them to figure out on their own, or time to reveal a bag of tricks they had all along? And if so, by what means? Thus ends the email from my rather mystical friend Tim. Quite. As a part of getting his permission to share his words, he asked me to include the following. But before I read it, I'm going to editorialize a bit. It's a possible outcome, rather dark, that he's included. Now, the above seeming so positive, why would that be? Because we still have free will. We are the creators here, and those who don't awaken to this sufficiently can still be manipulated by dark beings still hanging about around the edges of things, hidden behind whatever misleading masks they choose to wear. It is still possible to throw our bright new reality out before it's ever born, if enough of us choose a dark, irresponsible, unconscious path instead. The one most likely to manifest is the Techno Civilization, where science and technology are in effect the new gods. Now remember, this is me speaking, this is not Tim. They are in effect worshipped as technology is valued above human life itself extended via technology. The merging of the two is viewed as some great solution, great answer. Human life is seen to be inferior to what the techno-gods, the scientists, technologists, can produce or can enhance. All of life's blessings are seen as coming from that. So Tim writes, go ahead with the editorial changes in that Occupy Wall Street assessment. The assessment is valid. I would like to add a possible outcome to it. There is at least one outcome that could play where a prolonged battle between the occupiers and the corporatists represents a fundamental split in society. The hellish life inside the corporation is drugged away, and technology controls every aspect of life in cult-like precision. Opinion is chanted, and conducting warfare of various kinds, such as nuclear accidents on the outlawed society that the occupiers would be driven into, like reserves operated as animal sanctuaries, and the people there treated like lab samples. The step out of that is to remember, you are the alien beings in the body. You manifested in a human body and have been in it or with it from birth. You know that there is a natural limit to how long you can manifest into this reality in this form. The good news is, it won't last long. Close quote. Now, I hesitated to include this last piece. After all, I am representing Tim's vision as something truly positive, throwing it out there in the mix of the generally negative chaos of reporting around Occupy Wall Street or the Occupy movement. But let's be complete. Let's be willing to own our dark side as well as our light one. In this way, we'll succeed where those who went before us and tried to make change failed. Can you see? Let's see. I'm editorializing on myself that way. Maybe that way we will be fully empowered to see just how it is we were so often co-opted, so often taken over before, when we would rebel against the heavy hand or fist of the oppressor. Can you see it, my friends? Drop into heart. Can you see how we were guided, manipulated right into one-sided thinking, into being reactionist? That made us easy to control and oh so predictable. They always knew what our next move would be. It was their agenda, their playbook we were playing from, without knowing it. They played the parts of the coaches, the advisors, the wise ones, sometimes family and friends. They inserted themselves into the matrix so flawlessly we never knew. But predictable we were, and thus they kept control. Okay, now say all of that is gone now. There will be no more heavy-handed nonsense of one group forcing another into submission. That will fade fast. If we want it to. If we stand up or sit down and just refuse to play their games anymore, just like the Occupy people. See this, however, and see it well. We were forced and led into reactionism, into being forever for or against. It didn't matter, sometimes for and against, as long as we polarized. And notice the enemy was always from among us, never them, for they stay well hidden. As long as we polarized, they were content. That's how their playbook was and is written still. So it's really a simple shift, a shift of vision that is required here. Let each of us, each one now choose, intentionally choose to step out of the us versus them mentality. Let us sufficiently both enter our heart and open our heart to include all of mankind. All beings. Heck, my way is to include them as well, even the old reptilian and darker sorts. Heart has room for that. Maybe you don't yet realize, but heart will gobble them up, will quite neutralize any poison they contain. Now, it's not necessary to be pals with them. Oh, here I go again, losing my place. Lord, no, I'm not saying make them your buds. Heart operates on a much deeper level than any surface behavior like that. Heart has wings. Heart has the most amazing power the the earth has ever seen. It just needs to be awakened, unleashed. And the old ideas about the brain need to be seen and recognized for what they are, quite limited. And that's not about the brain, the old ideas of the brain, of the mind. These need to be recognized as being quite limited. And they need to be consciously shoved aside to give heart full reign. They conflict, they limit, they tie. They're the prison. Thought and mind has been used as our prison. Just because the new time, the new day, the new cycle, the new age, if you will, has come, the great shift is or has taken place, doesn't mean suddenly we're all Cinderellas living in a fairy princess world where everything is automatically set to right. Far from it. Remember, we still have free will. We write the script. We can still make wise and less wise choices. Let us not be lulled into an irresponsible sleep, a sleep on watch, thinking the shift of ages itself has or will take care of everything. Good heavens, let's wake up. Okay, and that's my addition to my playlist. I'll go convert it and add it now.